welcome back to another video. This is a very cozy one, if you can't tell by the full cloud ensemble I'm wearing. It is a very miserable, rainy, cloudy and cold public holiday today, so I thought I would take the opportunity to do a lovely Q&A with you guys. I put a question box on my Instagram and thought you could ask me some more questions about emigrating, life in Australia, regrets. There's a few wedding questions in there, and yeah, just a bit of a get to know me a bit better. Let's get started. All right, I actually don't know where to start. I think I'm just gonna dive in and just keep going for random questions, so there's not going to be any themes. So, did you ever think about moving to New Zealand? We vaguely talked about it. We initially came to Australia and New Zealand. We did a month travelling in each back in 2019, start of 2020. And I always said after doing that trip that I thought Australia seemed amazing to live in. New Zealand seemed better to travel around and holiday in. That was obviously after a month in each, and there was a lot of lessons learned from that whole trip. But I think I stick by that for where we are currently at in our lives. We obviously absolutely love the outdoor lifestyle, hiking, exploring, all of that, which you can definitely do both. New Zealand is probably better for it, but I think most places in New Zealand might feel a bit too quiet and a bit too rural for us. And I liked Auckland, but I didn't feel like I could see myself living there. But yeah, we love New Zealand. I would love to maybe do a year there, or just generally travel around for a bit longer there, get a van and do it all again, because it was genuinely some of the happiest times of our whole lives was going around New Zealand. Absolutely loved it. What are you doing more exactly for work? So I work in a project management role within an interior design firm. We also do a bit of kind of venturing towards kind of urban design or precinct design, and we mostly focus on retail and hospitality, and mostly tenancies. I don't know if all of that is jargon to a lot of people. I am in a bit of limbo in that my qualifications were not in design, nor were they in project management. I kind of segued into it. Something that I'm really passionate about. I love the design part, but I'm not qualified in it, and my actual design skills are somewhat limited. And that is something which I would love to focus on a bit more in the future. But then I'm also like, I don't know whether I should be focusing more on project management. So yeah, I'm in a bit of a grey space at the moment. And it's something which I would definitely love to be upskilling in the next few years. That's something that's like very much one of these questions which I'll come on to is like 5-year plan. And yeah, I definitely want to be upskilling, but I kind of need to decide. I'm like at a fork in the road and I don't know which one to go down, because it's very much like head over heart. Like, I love the design world. I think interior design is just so exciting, and it feels like the more kind of glamorous side, whereas project management ultimately pays better generally, and I think it is actually better suited to my personality type. Like, I like processes and that kind of organisation thing, so I think I'm actually better suited to project management, but I still like design. So for me, in my role at the moment, it's perfect because I get to be surrounded by design and get to have a comment on it, and I do design reviews and things, but then I'm ultimately in my safe space of project management. So that will lead me nicely onto my 5-year plan. So we're obviously getting married this year. We're getting married in August this year, so very soon. I think 5-year plan, I would like to be living in a house that is our own, so own a place. Currently renting, and love the fact that it gets us, like, this house that we're in is beautiful. We're so happy here, but would love to own a place. I would love to have a dog. That is a big goal. Like, hopefully kind of 2-year plan is the dog. Within 5 years, we'd like to have a child. And then career-wise is where I'm like, I don't know. I would love to still be doing YouTube, but I quite like the fact that this is a hobby and that I love like doing the vlogs. I think the vlogs is my happy place, and chatty videos like this. But then I also love doing the like helpful videos, but I do think that my kind of emigrating period of content, but in 5 years time, will be kind of old news. And yeah, in my career, I'd love to have a bit of a better idea of what I want to be doing. Like, I think for now I've been kind of bumbling along without really an end goal, and I would like in 5 years for me to have worked out what the end goal is and to be on my way towards it. Rather, I feel like I'm a bit like I'm on a lazy river of the career trajectory, and like I'm going the right direction, but it's not being very mindful about it. So that is something that I would like to work on. Do you think you will stay in Perth long term? This is very contentious. I honestly don't know. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think the lifestyle suits us perfectly. To be honest, moving back to the UK, and that was another one of the questions, was do you see yourself moving back to the UK? I think it would take something fairly big to move us back there. I think we are so happy here. The working conditions for Jake, that's probably the main thing. It was the main driver for bringing us here, and it's probably going to be the main driver that will keep us here, is the working conditions for Jake. He's a doctor in the NHS, was and still is, from what we're hearing. Obviously we've got a lot of doctor friends back in the UK. It's pretty dire, and yeah, for him to go back to that would be a big thing. It would have a drastic impact on our lives and the lives that we're able to give to children and things. But all of our family and our oldest friends are all in the UK. There is obviously things that we miss, but it's mostly the people. And that is something which is definitely 100% the hardest thing, and probably the thing that would swing the dial. If anything was to swing the dial, it would be that. It would be something that brings us back there. But yeah, never say never. Like, you never know what's going to happen, and Australia might turn to shit. Like, people always, like, it's not this utopia that's going to stay this utopia forever. And we might get sick of it, and we might think that we would prefer to be close to family, and who knows where the dial will swing once we've got kids of our own. Yeah, it's an impossible question. It's probably one of my most asked questions, definitely by people within my life. And I don't know how to answer it. And I'm surprised I haven't cried, because usually that's the one that breaks me. It's so hard. Someone's asked, what type of visa did we apply for us, and how hard was it to get accepted? They're considering moving, so good luck. I'm going to, rather than give a load of information here, I'm going to just flag you to a video, which we linked up here, which is me talking about with Jake exactly the visa that we were on, the process, how we found it. In short, we went on the 482 skills shortage visa. Because Jake's a doctor, he was able to get that, and then I was his dependent. We are in the process of applying for our permanent residency visa, and we're currently on a bridging visa because we've applied for that. So that's the brief synopsis. Go have a look at the video that I did where we go into a lot more detail on it. And actually, I will put a few resources down in the description box below. If you go onto my channel, there are heaps of videos, like more informative ones, where I go into more detail about, various things to do with emigrating. So go have a look there. So I said, can we get more Perth vlogs? Yes, you can. Thank you for asking. I never know if people care, because they definitely don't do the best in terms of views, but they are my favourites to film. So yeah, definitely. I feel like I've been a bit of a hermit recently, so hopefully I can get out and about and explore a little bit more, and film some videos for you. Thanks for letting me know that you like them. Someone has said, how is wedding planning going? It is so much fun. I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit with it, especially like the last couple of weeks, but I think I'm told and advised by people who've been through it that this is perfectly normal. So yeah, I can't wait. We're having a destination wedding in Santorini in Greece in August. All of our friends and family will be there, which I am so excited to see everyone, have everyone together for like a whole week. I feel so lucky and grateful, and yeah, I feel like the last couple of weeks I've very much been in the weeds of like the tiny details and decisions of wedding planning, which I love. Like, I've been having so much fun with it, of working out the colour scheme and the florals and the colour of the stationery and all of that I love. But I've very much been like looking down at it. And then yesterday I was talking to my best friend on FaceTime and kind of did the zoom out thing where I just looked at like what the week would be like having all of our loved ones together for a week after not seeing them for nearly a year. And I'm so excited. So yeah, I cannot wait also to do a whole load of wedding content in terms of how to plan a destination wedding, the kind of, you know, self-care prep that goes into a wedding. There's, yeah, just like a little spotlight on different aspects of it, and just generally I'm hoping doing a vlog of the week and just watching that video back over and over and over for the rest of my life. It's like a dream come true. It's amazing. Which brings me on to one of my friends who is also planning a destination wedding the week before me. So we are very much in it together. She said, "Is wedding planning stressful or always full of joy?" Actually, yeah, it's been very much swings and roundabouts of being really fun and being very stressful, and it's bringing out my controlling side, and yeah, it's hard, but it's, yeah, the most fun. Someone has asked, what are hairdresser prices like in Perth? Your hair is looking beaut. Thank you so much. The photo that I put on with the question box, that was like when I just got home from the hairdressers, so thank you very much. I find, so my hair currently is costing me an absolute bomb. I'm on the journey to try to get slightly more natural hair so that it requires less maintenance, but to do so, and then it's also obviously tying in with being like the perfect colour for the wedding. So for the last probably 6 months, and I've got about 3 months left, I've been going back every 8 or so weeks and having my colour done and having it trimmed and cared for and stuff. So it's very expensive at the moment, but I realise that the end goal is that I will have to go to the hairdressers less often, hopefully, after the wedding. But yeah, it costs me, depending on whether I get a half head or a full head, it's about $430 to about $520-ish each time. And that is for, like, I generally, and it's been the same even when I was like a lot blonder, because I did have pretty much like bleach blonde, quite light blonde, I'll put a picture, hair when I first started coming. The costs stay pretty much the same because they're still putting colour right the way through it, and it's like foils and all the weaving, and I don't know the terminology. So that's at a salon in the city called Head Studio on King Street. I do know that it's one of the more expensive. It's also one of the better rated. I remember when I first moved and I was in quarantine and I hadn't had my hair done for about like nearly a year because of the UK lockdown, and I just googled, I think I went on Perth's OK and typed in hairdressers, went through, was like, yeah, that's close to the hotel that we were in for quarantine, so I just booked it and I've been going there ever since. They're expensive but they're good, and they've like won awards recently and stuff. But to be honest, I've had a look at other hairdressers and they're also quite expensive. So I think it's just one of those things that's just a bit ridiculous. Someone's asked what was the name of the tower where we lived. So this was in East Perth and it was Vue Towers, VUE. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place to live. I really enjoyed that, and I think we definitely did the right thing by living in a apartment block, central, with a pool, with a gym for the first year, because it felt very much like holiday vibes, like just chilling by the pool on a day off was just, yeah, so nice. I've got a couple of questions. How do you sleep at night knowing that there could be a huge spider nearby? And someone else saying, do you worry about sharks? So, and these are obviously such like common Australia questions. With the spiders, I sleep fine. I live very suburban. Like if I lived in the hills, or if I went, like, even when we've been camping, to be fair, we've not really seen many big spiders. Like I have seen a few, but I've never seen a huntsman, and I do not intend to see any huntsman. yeah, like we do get spiders in the house here. We've had a couple of redbacks, which are the spicy kind. Sorry, I shouldn't make jokes. They are like poisonous or deadly. I'm not sure which. So we have had a couple of those in the house here, but they're thankfully very easy to recognise, and they kind of keep themselves and we're able to get rid of them. However, then we have lots of like the little spindly ones, so like kind of just general house spiders that Jake say are great because they eat all the other spiders and bugs and whatever. So yeah, they're fine. It's really not that much of an issue. Definitely no worse than the UK. I feel like I saw some worse, like more scary looking black chunky looking spiders in the UK that would freak out a lot more over. So yeah, not too much of a problem. Sharks, however, I am getting gradually more and more freaked out by sharks. We've had there's been quite a few, or just not even quite a few, but like more than zero is more than you want, isn't it? So yeah, there's been a couple of shark attacks. There was a fatal one only a few months ago, and it just in Perth, and it's just so scary. Jake's been surfing quite a bit recently, and it freaks me out every time he goes. I have him on Find Friends, and I'm checking where he is, and I'm ringing him after a couple of hours saying, hey, are you good? Like, it, yeah, freaks me out. Generally these days, whereas before we would quite happily go swimming in any beach, just pure ignorance. Like, it wasn't that it was safer, it was just pure ignorance. Now that we know a lot more and realise how common they are, and like, I think I was just really ignorant about how close into the shore that they could get, and yeah, now I would only swim in the shark nets, and thankfully like my favourite beaches do generally have shark nets, so it's a bit limiting, and it definitely scares me. Like, before I probably would have done a lot more like paddleboarding in the ocean and stuff like that, but now I don't think I would. I would stick to like the lakes, and even the rivers I would be a bit scared of. So yeah, I feel like that's the wrong answer. I feel like I should be like, no, it's no bother at all. But yeah, it is bothersome. But it's their world too, we just live in it. I have a few questions about how to make friends when emigrating, and I've talked about this a bit before in one of my other videos, and I do find it's something which I found a lot easier when I'd first moved, and now I'm finding a bit harder. So when you first move, I feel like you have a real push to just go out and meet loads of people. I found some really good Facebook groups. So there was one called Girl Gone International, which is all females who've just moved to, so there's a Perth one, there's some like everywhere in the world pretty much, so it's all for people who are new to a city. That was really good, met some really lovely girls through there, but didn't find any kind of long-lasting friendships necessarily. But they do events quite often where, you know, you can just go for brunch or a walk or whatever, and that goes through, like, that whole group kind of goes through lulls as well. So I think when I joined, it was in the middle of a lull, and I can see now there's a lot of new people who've joined, and I suppose it's entirely up to you to be the person to be like, yeah, I'm going to go along to a dinner with a load of people who I don't know, and it's pushing yourself into that, like, that's out of your comfort zone, and hoping that you'll strike up a friendship, and you might not, and it might just be like a pleasant evening and then you all go home. And I think I had a lot more motivation to do that when we first moved, and when I was new, and when I didn't already have a few friends. But I do feel like the more friends that I get, the less I'm motivated to go to those things, which is, and then I'm like, oh, sometimes I'm lonely. Like, it's silly, but it's just one of those things. So yeah, there's Facebook groups like that. There's like expats in Perth, there's Poms and R's, there's Bumble, there's a few things like that which are pretty good. I've actually met a couple of really lovely girls through doing YouTube who've like reached out to me. They're like similar age, similar kind of demographic to me, and that has been really lovely. I've made some lovely friends through that. And then other than that, like, it's basically through work and I guess friends of friends a little bit, and I suppose like just general networking. But it is hard. Like I really find that making friends as an adult is one of the hardest things. There is a lovely thing about the community when you all move and you're all in the same boat, and it's a very like, I always compare it to like uni freshers kind of mentality where everyone's just like says yes to everything. But then when you have been here for a little bit longer, then it does kind of, it ebbs and flows, doesn't it? Which segues me nicely onto, I feel like there's been a lot of nice segues. How long did it take for you both to feel settled there? So I asked Jake a few of these questions. So he said, and I think I agree with this actually, I felt very settled straight away and then started to miss people after about 6 months, so started to feel less settled. But then after the 1 year mark, I think I was in the sweet spot again. And I think I definitely found this as well. Not necessarily the exact same time frames, but there was definitely like, we have moments where we're like, fuck, we miss everyone at home so much. And I think it's largely when the weather's worse here, people in Perth hibernate a lot. And then in contrast, you're seeing people back at home in England in summer. So everyone's like doing loads, and just generally like with the amount of time that we'd been away, we really missed people. And it's, you start missing the like, oh, it'd be so nice to have like a Sunday dinner with family today and things like that. So found that quite hard, but I think the initial period was just so exciting, and like every weekend we were just exploring and we were sorting out the house and like going shopping for everything that we needed and things like that. So we were so busy that we didn't really think about it. But then started to feel less settled and a bit more like, oh, I don't really know. And then now, I think there's also the like uphill battle when you're starting a new job, that like they always give you a grace period of the first like 3 months where they're like, oh, you turned up, well done. It's really difficult, isn't it? And then they start expecting things of you. So we both struggled a bit. But then now do feel, very well settled now that we know the areas, a good group of friends and a good like network, and we are a bit better settled in our jobs and things. So and this is 2 years in, and I would say we've felt settled for maybe a year or so, I think, like pretty consistently settled. But there is no denying I really struggled kind of January last year. I was really struggling, and I was pretty down. I was pretty just a bit unsure, and I think that's when it really knocked me that like, you've emigrated and this is hard, and you're away from your family and you're away from all of your friends and you've got to start again, and that's when it was really tricky. But it's definitely been on an uphill since then, which is good. It's a relief to feel like that. And if you are currently in that tougher period, then push through, speak to someone. There is no shame in getting a therapist and talking through it all, because if you've moved or if like you've had a massive life shift, then there is, you're well within your rights to feel a bit mopey and unsettled. And I feel for you. It can be shit. Okay, looking back since you've arrived, what would you have done differently, and how do you guys survive the cold? How we survive the cold's a funny one. We're from England, so I feel like we're pretty good at getting through the cold. I actually sometimes quite like it when it's like, I was excited to be able to put on a hoodie today and I'm actually really hot now. I don't mind it so much. But you just rug up, as the Australians say, layer up, and chill inside, and it's lovely. Sometimes. I don't mean that all the time. What would we have done differently? So again, I asked Jake what he thought. He said, I think the only difference would be getting a 4-wheel drive and camping gear earlier and embracing that side whilst we were settling. So we bought a mini SUV, and that was a sensible-ish option. But now that we know a bit more and we're a bit more settled, we would love to have like a proper 4-wheel drive. It's a bit bigger, and we've recently bought camping gear, and it's just that like, oh, why didn't we do this sooner? It's amazing. And whilst we were settling, so it was obviously circumstantial because of the whole, COVID thingamabobby. But when we moved, we went into quarantine. Jake had about 2 weeks off work, and then like before he started working, I had about a month after that of finding a job and kind of just setting up our like home and our base. But we would have loved to have had the opportunity to kind of arrive and travel around a bit for a couple of months beforehand, you know, do like, I would still love to do the drive from Perth up to Exmouth, and then the same from Perth down to like Esperance, and then back up and camp the whole way along. And I just don't know when we're going to have the opportunity to do that now. Like looking at taking the time off work to do it properly and things, I think it will be a long way away. So yeah, I think if we'd have had the opportunity to do that sooner, we would have absolutely loved to. For me, I think the only thing would probably be, and it's a practical thing, is the whole storage and shipping situation, where we packed up basically everything in our old house in the UK when we sold the house. We just packed up absolutely everything. We cleared out some stuff, but really not anywhere near as much as what we should have cleared out. Put it into storage. It's been in storage for 2 years so far, probably coming up to 2.5 years now. And we are currently going through the process of getting quotes and, you know, itemizing everything for customs and getting it shipped over. So it's going to be another probably 4 months before we have it. So coming up for 3 years that we won't have had this stuff. We don't need most of it, and we've ended up paying loads for the storage for it. So I wish we'd had the foresight. We didn't know that we were coming for longer than a year, and we thought that we were going to be away for a year. We just bought a house at that point. Like, we'd had the house for 2 years, I think. And so all of that stuff was new to us. We didn't want to just throw it away. So it is completely like, you can't regret the things that you didn't know. And in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But it's just a pain in the arse to think like, there is literally, and I'm not joking when I say this, like secondhand sieves. We've got, you know, those like fancy soap dispensers, just like stuff that we do not need here. Like, I think for some reason didn't think that Australia would sell the same stuff as England, so I hoarded so much stuff, which we've now bought because we needed a sieve, for example, and now we're just going to have double ups, and we'll have spent like literal probably tens of thousands by that point to keep hold of this stuff and ship it over that we just did not need. If I could go back and tell 2 years ago Kat just to like bin that stuff or whatever, I would have done. I wish I had. What do me and my fiance think is the best thing about living in Australia? Again, as Jake said, the best thing about living here for me is the working conditions, hours and pay, and the outdoor lifestyle with the consistent weather. And I would definitely agree. So for him, it's a bit more stark, that contrast. For me, my work is kind of same. The pay is a lot better here. Obviously things are more expensive here, so for me it's kind of same, maybe a bit better. But for Jake it's like night and day. And then yeah, just the consistent weather, the fact that like throughout most of the year you have beautiful blue skies, and I feel like it just opens up so much more of what you're able to do. Like, we do go for so many more walks and cycles and picnics and, you know, barbecues, garden parties, that sort of thing, which just in the UK I feel like you get a handful of times. And I can just see like our friends who have kids, it's just so lovely the fact that they can always go for a walk and they're not faffing around with like rain covers and like bundling the child up in 17 like sleep suits and things to keep them warm. I know that made dramatic. But yeah, it's that side of things is just so appealing and just so lovely. And it makes such a difference to your mood. Like, I can already tell that I'm feeling a bit less happy now that it's turning to autumn and like we get the odd cloudy day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this was like magnified times 100 when I was in the UK. So that's definitely, as cliched as it is, obviously this is not news about Australia that the weather's nicer. But yeah, that's been the most like life-changing thing for me. Okay, I really do feel like I've been talking for ages, so I'm going to wrap it up with one last question, which is just going to be a quick one, which I'm sure you'll all be glad to hear. Favourite restaurant in Perth? Thanks for the great tips, you're welcome. I found this really hard to answer. I don't know why. I think we've not been to enough places, because there's so many that we've been to like each of them once. I don't think there's any that we've like consistently been back to. So I think Besk is one, which is it's like a bottle shop and like wine bar, beer, like what do you call it, like a tap room, I guess. But then they also have an amazing menu. Like their bang bang chicken is so yummy. So yeah, Besk is really cool. That's in West Leederville. For me, I would say there's then a place in Mount Hawthorn, which is a brunch place called Pogo. And I actually love that, especially if you go, they do a bottomless brunch, which I think is like so, but I'm a bit of an old lady and it was a bit noisy. But outside in the outdoor courtyard, there's just such a lovely atmosphere. It's super quiet and the food there is really good. And then it's not in Perth, and it's one that everyone kind of knows about, but Meal Up Farmhouse, which is down south. It's in the kind of Margaret River region. And that is just beautiful, and the food is really good, and the setting is just absolutely divine. That's probably my favourite like dining experience that I've had since being in Perth. I think that's bold claim, but I think it is. So yeah, I think they would be 3 to put on your list. I'm gonna regret this because I'm gonna have so many come to mind, but I want to also say Monsterella in Wembley for pizza is top notch. As is Il Locale in Scarborough, and there's a new one in Subi that I've not tried yet, but same. Also pizza, top notch. I think that's probably better pizza than Monsterella. Oh, it's tricky. Oh, I don't know. And then, I feel like I need to like add in some last minute extras. I love Huxter Burger for their burgers. I'm just really like scraping the barrel here. Do you know where is good actually? Folklore in West Perth, again for brunch. Really good. It's like Asian style brunch and it is so nice. They do the best congee. Yeah, okay, I'm going to leave it there because I think I've talked enough. And Gage Roads. That's one of my favourite venues as well in Perth. It's just, the views are just beautiful. Had lunch there the other day and it was just so nice. Their chips are really good. Nice pint of Hello Sunshine cider. Watching the boats coming in and out on the into the Fremantle port. You get dolphins there sometimes. Divine. Okay, I'm going to leave it there because I've been talking for quite a while and I feel like my throat is getting hoarse. So thank you so much for all of your questions. I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance to answer them all. I would love to do this again. So if you enjoyed this and would like to do this again, please do let me know and message me questions or whatever. I'll keep a log. And I'll do it again once I've got enough questions to do so. And yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit and watch these videos. I hope you have a lovely day and I'll see you next time.